Well, 21 domestic flights across Qantas, Virgin, Jetstar and Rex have been cancelled out of Sydney Airport this morning alone. It comes after hundreds of passengers were left lingering in Qantas planes on runways across the country yesterday after an IT glitch delayed up to a dozen flights. Joining me now live is the CEO of Flight Centre, Graham Turner. Graham, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got to say, this really appears to be an ongoing issue. Is it fair to say that travellers should be nervous to travel domestically right now?
Yeah, good morning, Danica. Look, your experience from what I've seen will vary quite a lot. From things being quite smooth and nothing too much happening to obviously there's been quite a bit of disruption and quite a few cancellations. You know, not only in Australia, of course, this is happening internationally a little bit as well, but certainly domestically, the cancellations are becoming quite common, unfortunately.
Cancellations and delays, there's been a lot of accounts of lost luggage as well. What is causing this? What seems to be the basis for all these issues?
Yeah, it'll vary depending. Like domestically, we're generally okay with capacity, but obviously there's problems with getting some of the baggage handlers and other people. There's obviously a really big shortage of people in quite a few different areas, and you know, the latest COVID epidemic, the wave, if you like, has certainly helped this a bit. Internationally, it's a bit different. You know, there is a lack of capacity into and out of Australia. There's no Chinese carriers coming hardly at all. So it's more of a capacity issue out of Australia as well as a staffing problem. And as you can imagine, training more pilots and cabin crew and other specialised people, you know, it does take some time.
It certainly does. And Sydney this morning alone, 21 domestic flight cancellations. Does it leave customers out of pocket when this happens?
Look, it'll depend on where you're going to. Domestically, generally, you'll be able to get another booking at probably a similar price. But if you're interlining internationally, and it's very hard to get seats, particularly at short notice. So cancelled international flights, particularly if you're interlining, if the airline's interlining, can mean that even getting a rebooking a seat is very difficult, and often the price is considerably more. So it will depend on a fair bit. I think generally domestically, from what we've seen, it's not too bad. You can get a booking. You might have to wait a few hours at the worst, but that's generally not too bad so far.
What are consumers' rights in these situations?
Look, generally, I'm not an expert at this, but generally the airlines will carry you for the same price, but which obviously works domestically usually because there's a reasonable amount of capacity. But internationally, if there are no seats or there's no more flights for a day or so, you know, those sort of rights don't help a lot. So I think domestically, you're probably pretty right. Internationally, you've got to be prepared for delays and you know, changing airlines obviously could mean a significantly higher price.
How long do you think it will take before things start to get back to some normality and there aren't always these cancellations or delays?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think, you know, particularly domestically, I think we'll be back to a lot more normality in the next few months. It'll take a little bit of time to get the staffing back up for this wave of COVID and other sicknesses to wane. I think internationally, we need a lot more capacity. You know, we've only got about 50% of pre-COVID capacity out of Australia at the moment. But by Christmas, we believe that'll be up to 70 or 80%. And obviously the Christmas peak period will be hard to get seats. But after that, late January, February, I think both prices will come down quite a lot and there'll be a lot more capacity. So we've just got to be patient. It's going to take a bit of time. and there's going to be some disruptions, cancellations, but generally I think it'll get better from now on. Most of the time, there'll be hiccups, but certainly when this wave of COVID comes off, which looks like it is at the moment, things will get back to more normality.
Well, fingers crossed it happens before Christmas. You wouldn't want a repeat of this during that peak time, that's for sure. Graham Turner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Danica.